And what I plan on doing is installing my tow connection here to the toad. And then I just paid for the slide-ins. And then there's the cross member, which is part of the Falcon tow bar, which inserts into the class 3 receiver. I've got a Breakaway cable for the brake, and that was installed. There is a umbilical cord. Let's see, it's a 7 to 6 pin that was already pre-wired from the previous owner, right there, and that will plug into the 7 pin. So we're going to go ahead and get that hooked up. Then the RVI-2, actually RVI-2 setup, which is needed in most states for any vehicles over 2,000 pounds. So that'll be installed. Here's the head unit that goes into the power plug up there on the dash in the RV. And I purchased 4 tire pressure monitor valve stem units that will screw onto those for all 4 wheels, and I can monitor en route through that display the pressure temperature. So we'll get started and do a dry run hookup, make sure everything checks out, and plan on ultimately taking this for a trip around the block here. Okay, this slide-in unit is at a angle offset to provide a coplaned interface. So these come into the side there, and there's a paddle lock point here to lock those in the event that you want to leave them in for any length of time, so these units don't walk off. This pin, connecting pin, locking pin, whatever, will go in that hole right there and come out the other side, and you put that clip. And then this quick link will go, light's not too good, there's an eyelet right underneath here that this will hook onto, and that provides the safety cabling to the motorhome. So there's the completed setup. And so I'll get the other side done. Both sides of the base plate are now installed. Each vehicle may differ slightly in the attachment points and some of the moldings, which may or may not interfere. In this case, the molding here had to be cut out. Therefore, this pin had to slip in here, so that through this opening there was room to get that pit pin in there, or that clip. So both installed, fairly easy, nothing too complicated. So on to put the cross member. Now the way this will work try to do some of this with one hand. Remove these pit pins. And this bar slides in here like that, and the key is to make sure that it's, one hand is very difficult. The key is to get these lined up. You don't want one ahead of the other because it can bind. Remember, these slip-in units are somewhat movable, and if they're not working together, they will bind up on you as this thing goes down. And you basically give it a force down. And what that does is it locks it down to a point where it will interface there. It's in place. You slip your pins inward. And that unit. Anyway, on to connecting the tow bar. I slid the Falcon 2 tow bar into the receiver. Put a pin, locking pin here. It's a master. I like these. I went ahead and put the safety cable, attached them. The alignment to the tow bar receiver, and if you come over, there's a center of the tow bar. So what's nice about these tow bars, as opposed to the old Jeep, made a Jeep while it was fixed. It was a rear bear to align it to the ball. Anyway, there's a little tab here, and this will fold down. I'll try to do this. And what you can do with this is spread it and telescope it out to compensate for that misalignment. Try to adjust a little more. So this is really a one-person operation. You don't need someone guiding you in. Just get it close, eyeball it. Remember the distance, if you can, for markings from your windshield to the back of the motorhome. Gives you enough distance for that to telescope out. And then those pins come out and go through these tubes. So I'll go ahead and do that. With the umbilical cord secure, as you can see, the telescopic function of the tow bar will even itself out as soon as I get going. Each brake system may require a little different interface to the existing seat setup, but the idea is the brake system sits here. It uses the seat as a fixed position for the brake action to the brake pedal. In this view, it was open here, and so an accessory item for this particular system was to have this accessory bolted in so that the brake system can ride against it. There it is. Here's the Breakaway electrical plug that will go in back here, and this is tucked away up underneath behind the carpet when not in use. And there is the setup just before getting ready to install it. I'm going to splice in some of the the RVI-2 video, which is really clean. It shows a much easier installation. Obviously somebody's holding the camera while the guy's installing it. Very difficult. And I'll go ahead and splice some of that video in here to show how easy it is. It's basically the same setup as I have here. I've measured the height of the receiver to the front of the tow bar, and it's exactly 4 inches, so I'm within tolerance. The idea is to have the tow vehicle, not the towed, the motorhome, higher, so that in the event of an emergency braking, you're pushing up on the motorhome. If that tow bar was lower in front at the motorhome end than the towed, then it's going to ride up above and into the back of the motorhome. So the idea is to have the towed on the lower end within a 4-inch tolerance, and so I'm 4 inches below the trailer hitch, at least on this surface. Okay, here's the instrument head of the RV-2 brake system. I screwed that antenna there that will connect with the wireless antenna, or the antenna on the unit inside. So I'll put that in this power plug here, a little dark. Again, that will slip in there, and it is a swivel, so you have some adjustability there to angle it up. And it's giving me that it's an active 10. That's a pressure point for a small SUV. I think there's 5, 10, 15, and 20, depending on a larger sub and a truck. And the sensitivity is medium, indicating that low sensitivity would mean it would only stop or actuate the brake system during fast stops, so on and so forth. A high reading would be every time you stop. So my belief here is start in the middle and see how it works. I got a feeling that for very safety reasons you want a brake system, but I'm pretty confident that normal driving I wouldn't even need a brake system in that car, unless there was an an emergency or going down hills, that sort of thing. So therefore the medium, I think, will fulfill the needs of that kind of driving. Again, you can adjust that to come on more often if you need in that sensitivity level. Keep in mind that the more that brake is working, there's a compressor in there which is actuating the piston in that brake system back there, and that runs off your battery. And your battery, eventually, you don't stop and address the battery level. I think this has a warning when the battery gets low. You may want to have an auxiliary battery. You'll have a dead battery upon arrival to your destination. So there are periodic maintenance points to ensure your battery is charged. You could even put a charge line from the motorhome to the towed to keep your battery charged, but I didn't want to go through what I felt was an unnecessary expense, given the fact that you don't want to ignore your towed back there. You want to go back there periodically, start it up, just make sure everything's functioning according to the towing instructions on the towed itself. So I'm going to run through some of the diagnostics here, and we'll see how it's connecting up. Okay. The maiden voyage pulling the Vue as a towed was successful. Pulled that brake system out of there. Very easy to pull out. I begin breaking down the tow bar setup, stow that in the back of the motorhome.
want you to get up and walk like a duck.
Me?
Yes.
I always walk like a duck. What are you talking about? Do the duck walk.
Hey, Molly, let's do the duck walk.
Do the duck walk.